If you remember that weird cartoon they pulled off the air after just 2 episodes, you weren't supposed to. And if you're hearing this now, maybe neither was I. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to share something like this. But after what I've seen, silence feels like a death sentence. You see, I didn't just watch that show. I held the files in my hands, and now I can't seem to get rid of them, no matter what I try. Most people assume when a network cancels a show, it's because of ratings, or bad writing, or corporate drama behind the scenes. That's what I used to think too. But this was different. Cartoon Network didn't just cancel it, they erased it. They stripped its existence from press releases, pulled commercials, even threatened lawsuits against fan forums that dared mention it. Almost like they wanted to convince us it never aired at all. But I remember. And the fact that you remember is proof that something survived their purge. Maybe that's the danger, because what I uncovered wasn't just a cartoon. It was something alive, and it noticed me the second I hit play. Let me explain what I found, before it finds me. Back then, my life was painfully ordinary. I was a broke college kid, interning at Cartoon Network's archives department. Basically a glorified errand runner for people who didn't want to dig through dusty shelves themselves. My nights were spent the way any 20-year-old animation nerd might spend them. Living off gas station coffee, binging old reruns I wasn't supposed to be watching on company equipment, and convincing myself it all counted as research experience. Cartoons had always been my comfort food. I grew up falling asleep to the glow of late-night marathons, memorizing theme songs like they were hymns. There was something almost sacred about them. Bright, silly worlds where nothing really bad ever lasted more than 11 minutes. At least, that's how I like to remember it. Every now and then, though, I'd catch a glimpse of something that didn't fit. A strange pilot nobody seemed to talk about. A single episode that aired once and vanished. Most people brushed it off as bad scheduling or licensing issues. But there was one show in particular that always felt off. The colors looked wrong, the voices sounded just a little too close to real people, and the jokes never landed quite right. I told myself it was just a bad cartoon, one of those forgotten experiments networks bury out of embarrassment. But something about it stuck with me, like an itch in the back of my head I couldn't scratch. Back then, I just thought it was bad animation, but I couldn't have been more wrong. It happened on one of those nights when the building was practically empty, the kind of silence where you can hear the fluorescent lights buzzing. I was sorting through a box of rejected pilots, mismatched VHS tapes, and demo reels when I saw it. A plain black tape with a smeared white sticker. No title, just a single word written in marker, return. Normally, I wouldn't have thought twice. We had mountains of unlabeled junk. But this one felt different, heavier somehow, like it didn't want to be touched. I turned it over in my hands, debating whether to shelve it or slip it into the trash. That's when Jared, another intern, passed by my desk. He froze the second he saw the tape. "Don't watch that one," he muttered, almost too quietly. "Just throw it out." I laughed it off, but his face stayed pale, his eyes locked on it like it might bite. He didn't even wait for me to answer. He just walked away. That should have been enough to scare me off. But curiosity has a way of drowning out common sense, and my curiosity was screaming. When I finally played it, the opening sequence looked almost normal. Cartoon colors, silly music, but the longer I watched, the more my stomach knotted. The characters whispered lines that didn't match their lip movements, their voices dropping into garbled tones that sounded too human. The background wasn't drawn, it looked like photographs of real places, blurred just enough to pass for animation. And the laugh track, it wasn't canned. It sounded like someone actually crying. I should have stopped. I should have taken Jared's advice. But what I saw on the tape's third episode still haunts me. And of course, I pressed play. At first, I told myself it was just an experimental style, maybe one of those adult edge projects that never saw the light of day. But the longer I watched, the harder it became to pretend. The characters didn't act like characters. Their eyes didn't just dart around the screen. They lingered, following me, unblinking, as if they knew there was someone sitting in the dark with them. The laugh track cut in at random moments, loud and jarring, but it wasn't laughter. It was screaming, high-pitched, choked, like someone trying to laugh through terror. The sound wasn't looped. It rose and fell, as though it was happening live. And the backgrounds. God, the backgrounds. At first glance, they were simple suburban houses, parks, classrooms. But when I leaned closer, I realized they weren't drawn. They were photographs, grainy, color shifted, and blurred just enough to hide the details. Only, sometimes the blur wasn't enough. Sometimes, in the windows, in the corners, you could see faces. Real faces. Distorted, but unmistakably human. I told myself it was all part of the design. Some edgy animator pushing boundaries. That was easier to believe than the truth. Then one of the characters stopped mid-sentence, turned its head too far, and looked straight at me. It didn't blink. It didn't move. It just stared, and then, clear as day, it whispered something I can't bring myself to repeat here. There's one thing I can't describe here. You'll understand why later. That's when I realized this wasn't just a show. The deeper I went, the harder it became to separate the tapes from reality. My laptop froze every time I tried to transfer the files, the screen tearing into jagged lines of static. Sometimes, even when the player was closed, the sound would bleed through my speakers, the faint hum of that theme song, or worse, the muffled laughter that wasn't laughter at all. One night, while replaying an episode, I heard my name. Not on the computer, behind me. A voice, the same pitch and cadence as one of the cartoon characters, whispered it from the corner of the room. I spun around, but of course, nothing was there. At least, nothing I could see. And then came the episode that broke me. The plot was simple. The characters were sitting around a kitchen table, talking about a boy who wouldn't stop watching. Their dialogue wasn't generic. It was specific. My hometown. My street. They even mentioned a detail about my childhood no one else could know. When the character looked into the camera and described what shirt I was wearing that exact night, I slammed the laptop shut. Listen, I know this sounds like every Lost episode creepypasta you've heard before. I've read them too. But this isn't fiction. This isn't someone's edgy fan story. I wish it was. There's a reason Cartoon Network buried this. They didn't just cancel a show. They erased it. Someone made sure of that. And when I found the cancellation memo, I finally understood. The memo wasn't long, just a few clipped sentences buried in a forgotten archive. But the meaning behind it was devastating. Officially, the show was canceled due to technical inconsistencies and creative disputes. Unofficially, the animators had filed complaints that the episodes were being finished without their input. Characters appeared in poses they hadn't drawn, entire scenes materialized overnight, and backgrounds contained faces no one remembered designing. One whistleblower claimed the footage was stitched together from police evidence, grainy surveillance clips, even photos of missing people. Another insisted the sketches would change after hours, as if something inside the reels was redrawing itself. And then there was the creator. He stopped showing up to meetings altogether. The last anyone saw of him, he was muttering that they don't want to be cartoons anymore. After that, gone. Vanished like the show itself. I realized what I thought was sloppy, rushed animation, the distorted eyes, the blurred edges, wasn't an accident. It was evidence. Something alive was behind the screen, pressing to get out. The memo ended with a chilling note. Do not circulate remaining episodes. But the worst part wasn't the memo. It was the final tape. The final tape wasn't labeled, just a blank shell with a strip of worn plastic. Against every instinct, I slid it into the player. The screen flickered to life with the show's usual jingle, but warped, dragging like a broken music box. The characters were all there, except they weren't acting. They were just staring. Then one of them said my name. Clear, direct, not as a line of dialogue, but as if they had always known me. The others followed, their mouths moving out of sync, overlapping like a broken choir. My name again and again. Static bled past the edges of the TV, spilling into the room like smoke. The air crackled, heavy, electric. My reflection vanished from the screen, replaced by a crude sketch of myself, animated in the same jagged style as the show. Every blink, every nervous shift of my body, it copied. Until the copy wasn't just mimicking, it was leading. The characters reached for it, their drawn fingers brushing the outline of my face. I swear I felt the cold tug on my skin, like the paper-thin world behind the glass was pulling me in. I turned off the TV, yanked the plug, smashed the remote. None of it mattered. The theme song still plays, faint, steady, right behind me. I can hear it now, even though nothing is playing. And if you think I'm exaggerating, you should know, someone uploaded part of it. I shouldn't have told you any of this. Maybe I've only made it worse by passing it on. Because the show doesn't just exist on the tapes anymore. It lingers, like a virus in signal and memory. Once you've heard its name, Once you've pictured those jagged faces, it knows you. People think canceled shows are forgotten, buried in some vault. But late at night, when stations fill dead air with static, that's where it hides. Sometimes an old streaming site will glitch, and for a moment, just a moment, you'll see a thumbnail you don't recognize. Bright colors, wide smiles, too wide. If your TV flickers at 3:17 a.m., don't watch. It means the show found you too. That's when it bleeds through, testing the edge between your world and its own. That's when it looks for new characters. You might think you're safe, that you'll forget this tomorrow, but you won't. The melody will slip into your dreams. The voices will call your name when you're alone. And if you're still listening now, wait, did you hear th? Silence, asterisk. Did anyone else see this show? Or am I the only one left remembering? Drop a comment if you caught even a glimpse. Maybe we can piece together what they tried to erase. Check out the other cases on this channel too. Sometimes the past doesn't stay buried.